everybody, it's your pal JR again, and welcome to Assume I'm an Idiot, where we take complicated topics and smush them into a fine paste that even a toddler can safely swallow. I am the idiot.
You are a stupid man!
And on this podcast, we'll be exploring everything from silly fun facts that everyone should know to bigger, more adult stuff like science, education, infrastructure, social issues, and so much more. Broken down without corporate talk or industry speak, so even a troglodyte like me can understand. So sit back, close your eyes, and put your brain into auto drive, and let the info wash over you like a 5-star hotel shower, minus the free mini shampoo. Today we have a topic that'll open up your eyes and maybe shut down a few fantasies. But first, it's time for Random Stuff You Should Know.
Random stuff you should know.
And because we have such a jam-packed show today, I'll only give you one. From the world of entertainment,
There's no business like show business, like no business I know.
you can only watch movies because your brain is being tricked. Everyone knows that film and videos are a series of still images all strung together, but your brain can only process it as moving because of something called persistence of vision. Persistence of vision is an optical illusion where the human eye and brain continue to perceive an image for a split second after it's actually gone away. It occurs because our visual processing takes roughly 1/20th of a second to reset. When distinct static pictures are flashed in rapid succession within this short time frame, the brain overlaps them and creates a fluid, continuous perception of movement. This rapid succession of images overrides our brain's reset time, blending individual pictures together and creating the illusion of motion. Movies have zeroed in on 24 frames per second as the ideal number of frames to trick the brain into seeing movement. Some videos are created at 30 frames per second, which is why they look a little bit different than cinema, even if you don't know why. Other examples of persistence of vision are things like glowing trails. If you wave a glowing sparkler in a dark room, you see a continuous line or shape rather than a single pinpoint of light. Ceiling fans. When a ceiling fan rotates at high speeds, you see a continuous blurred disc rather than individual blades. 13 frames per second is the slowest speed the human brain will process images consecutively. Anything less than that and our brains will process each frame as a separate picture. Olden-timey movies were filmed at 16 frames per second, very close to 13 frames, which is why they look choppy and unnatural. But come on, they're still cool to watch, right? Okay, on to the main topic. Today we're discussing something a little different and entering the world of career paths. And because in a few minutes I'll be joined by multiple guests who can better speak on the issue, I'll keep my intro short and sweet. As always, you're welcome. I'm talking about acting, or more specifically, how hard is it to be an actor? And maybe that's not the right way to put it. Maybe the better question is, how hard is it to maintain a career in acting? Because anyone can proclaim they're an actor, but being a working actor is an entirely different thing. Let me start by telling you what prompted this episode in the first place. A few weeks ago, I was playing golf and was paired up with a guy roughly around my age, mid-50s-ish, and we were having pleasant conversation throughout the round, and, like any golf addict, he was complaining about how he doesn't get to play enough golf. He's not good because he doesn't get the practice time and blah, blah, blah. Everyone that loves golf but has to work for a living has the same complaint. But near the finish of the round, the guy dropped this little nugget on me. He said, I think I'm going to quit my job and just become an actor. I chuckled at what I thought was a sarcastic remark. He, on the other hand, did not chuckle. After a long pause, I said, "Are you serious?" He said, "Yeah, how hard could it be? I can memorize stuff. Just look at the camera and talk. Then I'll have my days free to golf." So the dude wasn't kidding. Not wanting to crush anybody's dream, I said, "That would be cool." But my inside voice was saying, yeah, good luck with that, champ." Now, I've been in the business for a long time. I'm a writer, producer, director by trade, and I've worked with a lot of actors. I have many actor friends. I've been in a lot of casting sessions, and I generally know how rough it can be to do the audition grind. More on that later. But I've never really sat back and thought to myself, what do actors actually go through? How hard is it to do their job? I've always had the good fortune of working with people that had experience and were good at it. But what about people starting out? How many of them actually make it? And how do you define make it? Before we even get there, let's get some baseline stuff on the business of being an actor out of the way. Like my playing partner, a lot of people think acting is easy. Memorize some words, cry on command, pretend to be a wizard or whatever, collect your millions, and you're done. Except that's not how it works at all. In fact, acting might be one of the most rejection-filled careers on earth, maybe only topped by door-to-door salesmen. Here's the first thing a lot of people don't understand. Most actors are not famous, not even close. When people think of actors, they think Tom Hanks or Meryl Streep or Denzel Washington or Ryan Reynolds. That's like thinking everyone who plays basketball becomes LeBron James. Nobody thinks about Johnny Filmstein, who's been a background actor in 3 films and needs to work 40 hours a week parking cars just to make rent. The stars are the exception, not the rule. Let's get some perspective. SAG-AFTRA, SAG is the Screen Actors Guild, and AFTRA is the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, is the labor union that presides over actors. It's the largest performers union in the United States, and their most recent data shows they represent roughly 160,000 performers. That sounds impressive, except that's only the people who qualify for the union. And qualifying means you need a certain number of hours and a certain salary earned from acting alone consistently, year after year, to stay in the union. There are hundreds of thousands of people who don't qualify for the union, also known as non-union talent. Some industry estimates put the number of people actively pursuing acting careers in the United States at just under 200,000 at any given time. And Los Angeles alone receives tens of thousands of new aspiring actors every year. Aspiring actors. So 160,000 are represented by SAG-AFTRA, but the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics estimates that even with the qualifications in mind, there are only about 89,000 working actors employed in a given year in the United States. Not famous actors, just people making some amount of money from acting. That's just over half of the full representation by SAG-AFTRA. That leads me to the part nobody sees. Imagine applying for a job and hearing no 100 times, 1,000 times, 2,000 times. That is acting. Many successful actors have talked openly about booking one job out of 50 auditions or one job out of 100 auditions. And remember, those are auditions they were lucky enough to get. Most actors never see the audition. And I know some of you are already thinking, well, that's because those people are not talented. They are. There are thousands upon thousands of exceptionally talented actors that never get in the door. There are a lot of other factors that determine whether or not you get an audition, let alone get a part. Art in any form is subjective. Personal taste is unquantifiable. So you might be the most talented person in the room, but maybe the producer or director have always envisioned someone taller or shorter or brunette instead of blonde. Maybe they had a fight with their wives that morning and are turned off by anything funny or snarky. Maybe one of the actors is the producer's niece or another famous director's daughter. Or maybe the hairs on the back of their necks just say, I don't like this guy or girl, without any real reason. So talent often has little or nothing to do with your odds of becoming a working actor. In some respects, no matter how talented you are, you have the same chance as just about anyone else that somehow got into the audition. Yes, experience and talent is important, but only kinda after you made it to the next round. It's unlike any other job interview I can think of. I've heard a lot of people liken becoming a successful actor, whatever your definition of that is, to becoming a pro athlete. And oddly, there's a very real comparison here. The NCAA estimates that roughly 1 to 2% of college athletes actually make it to a pro level. But I say being a pro actor is even harder, because acting doesn't even have a clean pipeline like college sports does. There's no draft, no combine, no official ranking system, no scouts looking for you. The closest thing I can think of is someone walking in off the street and giving such a great workout that a pro team gives them a shot. Only it's worse. The best description I can give on becoming a working actor is, imagine trying to make it in the NFL, but no one tells you where the tryouts are. And very quickly, to address the idea of I'll have most of my days free, especially when starting out, here's just a couple of things that an actor has to do to stay competitive. Classes, training, attending auditions at a moment's notice, networking, making self-tapes, updating headshots, creating acting demo reels, researching roles, memorizing pages of dialogue that will inevitably be changed before you utter a single word of it on camera, learning accents, and more. So think of it as having a full-time job while also needing to work a full-time job to pay the bills, which is a perfect segue to what I want to discuss next, the somewhat sobering facts about what being a working, paid actor really means financially. The mathematical average annual salary for TV and film actors, fully factoring in everything from multi-million-dollar A-listers to minimum wage background talent, is estimated to sit between $50,000 and $57,000 a year. However, This number is a textbook example of how a statistical average can completely distort reality. In an industry where a fraction of a percent earns generational wealth, the vast majority of actors barely make enough money to eat. To illustrate the extreme wealth gap in TV and film, look at how the income is distributed. Hollywood's top earners command astronomical figures. There's no denying that. In recent years, stars like Adam Sandler pulled $48 million mostly from streaming guarantees. Tom Cruise secured $46 million through box office gross percentages, and Dwayne Johnson reached $48 million for headlining franchise blockbusters. The median income for actors, the exact middle point of the profession, is only $46,600. This means 50% of all working actors make less than this amount annually. And if you go down to the low end, according to data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the bottom 10 to 25% of actors earn between roughly $24,000 and $33,000 annually. Non-union background actors often make local minimum wage. Even SAG-AFTRA union background actors make a base rate of about $190 to $200 per 8-hour day. But because the work is highly irregular, they rarely secure enough days of work to build a livable annual salary. That means, statistically, you can actually make more money working at Starbucks or Walmart than you can as an actor. Let's put that into some financial perspective. Most actors gravitate to either New York or Los Angeles because that's traditionally where the jobs are. Maybe not so much anymore, but in the past. Let's start with LA. According to the Public Policy Institute of California, the PPIC, the California Poverty Measure, which adjusts for local housing costs, estimates that a family of 4 needs a baseline of roughly $44,000 per year just to stay out of poverty. The Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles establishes that a single person earning $35,000 or less qualifies as having an extremely low income. That's in quotation marks. A threshold that absorbs the majority of entry-level or non-union background actors. Now let's talk about New York City, where the other bulk of actors gravitate. Independent economic metrics tracking New York shows a vastly higher financial requirement. According to the New York City True Cost of Living measure, a single adult living alone in New York City realistically requires an income of $70,000 annually to meet basic needs without external assistance, debt, or severe material deprivation. That means possibly being homeless. Local tracking data from institutions like Robinhood and Columbia University adjusts the baseline for a family of 4 in New York City rental housing up to nearly $44,000 to reflect standard city living conditions. Okay, so that's a lot of lawyer talk and public policy blah blah. But let's tie it back to acting. When you compare against these baselines for the cities, the financial precarity of the acting business becomes really hard to ignore because the bottom 10 to 25% of working actors make between $24,000 and $33,000 annually. An actor living in Los Angeles or New York who is not consistently booking roles is mathematically living at or below the poverty line. And we're not even touching on stuff like health insurance and retirement. Yeah, you qualify for those things if you can make it into the union, but if you're non-union, you're paying for them on your own. Now, I can go on and on throwing stats at you, but stats are boring. Enough of my dopey data. Let's summarize. I don't mean to crush anybody's dreams or throw up a stop sign to something you're aspiring to do. I'm just barfing up facts here. Most people think acting is learning a few words from a page and pretending to be someone else. The real challenge is spending years being rejected and still believing there's a role out there with your name on it. Acting is one of the few careers where you can be incredibly talented, work extremely hard, do everything right, and still hear no most of the time. Which begs the following questions. Why do people do it? How hard is it to get started? How much effort does it take to become a working actor? How hard is it to maintain an acting career? And what's the definition of the term making it? Well, do I have a treat for all of you, because joining me via the futuristic magic of internet technology, I have not 1, not 2, but 3 amazing guests today, all of whom with the hard-earned experience to give us the straight poop on all of this. In no particular order, he has annoyed you during commercial breaks for about 25 years, appearing in nearly 150 national spots. You've seen him in about 25 network shows as either the cucky guy who gets pushed around or the serial killer. And in his words, nothing in between. He's also performed with the Groundling Sunday Company, and he's one of the funniest people I know. A big idiot welcome to Reese Rios.
Hello.
You got, really?
It's the perfectly fun greeting.
Next up, we have 30 years playing oddballs, loners, and guys in basement apartments. He's probably most recognized as the creepy neighbor Tom on Cougar Town, where I fell in love with him, or the creepier Dr. Zeltzer, the best name ever, on Scrubs. He's responsible for the Zoltan. The Zoltan saying, and Dude, Where's My Car? Another great turn. He's had over 100 guest star supporting roles in TV and film, over 150 national commercial. The guy whose face is hard to forget, the very funny and talented Bob Clendenin.
Oh, my unforgettable face.
That face, that cover girl face. And busting up the sausage party, she's an actress, a writer, director, and voiceover artist, best known for her roles as Jane Ponderosa on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and Katie Hart on Disney's Girl Meets World, which was really great. And for any gamers out there, get this, if that's not enough, she's also the voice of Kafka in the game Honkai Star Rail. So you're welcome. The lovely, talented, and very tiny Cheryl Texiera.
I love the very tiny. I'll take it.
You are. You're teeny tiny.
I love it.
And off the record, my wife and I watch a soap opera every day at lunch. It's our ritual. And one of the actresses is like 4'9", and they have her like in stack heels and on, boxes, apple boxes through the entire thing. It's so ridiculous looking.
That's almost
anyway.
prejudice to short people. What is wrong with being 4'9"?
Nothing.
Well, what an honor this must be for all of you to be on my show. So excited for you.
That's what we were talking about.
It's going to be a circus, I can just tell already, but going through one channel, but we'll do the best we can. Welcome. For full disclosure to anyone listening out there, I have known these three talented people for plus or minus 15 years. Doesn't mean I like them, but I've known them. That said, I'm searching for honesty here. So I'm not taking it easy on any of you, all right?
Okay.
To that end, should I feel like you're giving me some publicist-approved nonsense answer, you will hear this, and you will give me a real answer. Be honest. Also, if you say anything I don't understand, which is likely to happen, or you start name-dropping, classic acting teachers or throwing out fancy terms, you get one of those. That means dumb it down for me, all right? Ease back. Or if everyone's shouting over each other and it just becomes a din of noise, you're going to get one of those. Everybody ease back the throttle. Cool?
Yeah. So you guys are publicists?
Publicist approved? Yeah. Yeah, they do. Oh. I mean, no, Reese, they don't. No one's got them.
That's great.
Okay. I will have some
Cool.
I will have some specific questions, but I'm hoping not to make this a press junket. So let's just have an honest conversation. But I am going to start with a softball just to get the chat going. And that is, give me your in-pocket answer if someone asks, hey, what's the best part of being an actor? And then later on, we'll go to the darker side of this. But let's start with you, Bob. What's your sort of in-pocket response to that?
I love being in a creative field, but I also kind of love the freedom that you have time-wise. I have a couple of little hobbies. I've got 2 boys that I was able to spend a lot of time with growing up. Mm-hmm. Not being bound to, a concrete schedule was kind of appealing. Obviously, the downside is that you never know if you're getting a check the next month.
Okay, well, we're going to get to the dark side, so don't go there yet. We'll go downside. But for now, let's make it all positive. This is the great part about being an actor. Cheryl, what about you?
I love dipping into someone else's psyche and putting on their everything. I'm like putting on their clothes. No, but seriously, wearing every, their ideologies, the psychology of being someone else, why they are the way that they are. That's literally my favorite part.
Reese, very good answer. Reese, go ahead.
I love the work. I love, not to be simplistic, but I love when I do get to work, being on set. I tend to I don't tend to sit in the chair. I tend to walk around and watch everyone doing their work.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really neat, the collaborative process. I especially love watching art department go to work and set design go to work. And I just think it's a neat collaborative thing.
It is kind of magic, yeah.
it's really neat. Yeah, there's so many different creative components, and watching them all as a fan, I think that's the neatest thing for me.
You know what? It is interesting for me living here and, living in LA, being in the business, is I still get excited when I see like one of you guys on TV. I'm like, hey, look, it's Cheryl. Oh, look, it's Bob. Like I immediately want to just, text you and say, hey, saw you in this commercial. Like you care either way. But, it's one of those deals like I get really psyched about it. And my wife, that's the only time I become a star effer. Like my wife is not. My wife is a major like star effer. She's on the prowl looking for celebrities. I couldn't care less most of the time, right? I am a fan of, I'm not putting you in this category. I'm a fan of the B and C listers, like, the guy that played Damone in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, right? Like I see him on an elevator, I'm like, holy shit, it's Damone. Like, but if I see a big time actor, I'm just like, I don't really care. But yeah, she never sees anybody. She thinks they're going to look exactly like they do on TV or in a movie. And so when she sees, and I'm like, hey, look, that's Ron Howard or whatever. She's like, no, it's not. I'm like, yeah, it really is. Like, I don't know how else to tell you. All right.
So you're the guy that can spot people when they aren't done.
Anywhere. And I can spot, if I see someone in a role on TV, Law and Order is just an absolute feast. But you see someone on TV and I'm like, that's the guy that was on the show Dear John in 1989. Like I can pick that guy out and it drives her nuts. She gets mad at me about it.
I saw a guy from Dear John like a couple weeks ago.
There's a guy from Dear John on the soap opera we watch. I'm not kidding. He really is.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Jerry
Jerry
Burns.
That's who I saw. Jerry Burns, who played Gert.
Yeah.
Right.
On Dear John. Right.
I actually talked to Jerry Burns not long ago.
That's awesome.
Jerry Burns had an amazing turn on Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Where, oh my!
He did. He also had that.
He was the counselor in the 12-step program,
That's right.
and he told the story of running over his own kid.
Oh my God! Yeah.
He also had that show for a while. Good Morning Miami, which actually ran a lot longer than most people think.
Which I was on 12 episodes of. Thank you very much,
You
JR.
were? How did I not see you on that? That's crazy.
Apparently I wasn't making a big impression.
Not a soap
Why is
opera.
that not part of the bio?
I know it. Why wouldn't that be the lead?
I didn't know we were going to reach into the Good Morning Miami fan base.
Okay. A little setup for y'all. As I mentioned in the intro, this whole episode stemmed from a conversation I had with a guy who actually dropped I'm going to quit my job and become an actor. And when I asked if he was serious, he said, yeah, how hard could it be? All right. By pure coincidence, last year I was shooting a documentary about one of my neighbors. And during filming, I asked, hey, what's your plan after you retire? Same thing. I'm going to get into acting. How hard is it? I just stand on a spot and read words. Right. Again, my answer to both of them was basically, good luck with that. Hope that works out. So for anyone outside the business, I need to help explain what being a working actor really takes. And I very specifically said working actor, because a lot of people call themselves actors, but in my mind, they ain't, right? So you might disagree. So in your opinion, we'll start with you, Cheryl. Give me that, like, what does it take, right? What does it take, in your opinion, whether anyone else agrees or not, to be a working actor?
Okay, so I would say that it does take work to be a working actor, but I don't prescribe to the philosophy of acting is hard. And but that goes across the board for me. I don't prescribe to being a mother is hard, being a parent is hard, being a fill in the blank, because I do feel like there are other professions that are significantly harder.
Oh, for sure.
And I'm also hyper aware that 6-year-olds do what we do. So, and get paid very well for it. So there's an element too of the philosophy that people have when they're like, oh, how hard can it be? I'm like, I get it. So I don't know. I'm not that delicate to it, but it does take work and consistency. That I will say.
Yeah, I say if it's all relative. I get what you're saying.
It is.
I think for the way that we're structuring it right now is, being a heart surgeon is significantly harder than being an actor.
Yes.
But in the context of what we're talking about, like if someone just says, I want to be an actor, the response is like, it's not just show up. Like, you don't just get a call from someone and says, hey, by the way, I heard you were an actor. You want to come and be on the show? Like, it just really doesn't work that way. I'm going to ask the same question to Reese. Like, what does it really take? How hard? I'm not going to say how hard is it. So what does it really take to be a working actor?
I mean, the thing about this industry that makes it, I think, tough is that you sit there and make the choice, I'm going to be an actor. And then now we hope that this industry will choose you back.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's not a trajectory, it's a big old thing of Plinko, right?
Yeah.
I know people that have worked for 20 years, studied, put everything into it, and it didn't Plinko their way.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a little bit of good fortune. So I think that it's just, there's so much randomness to it that's the X factor that makes it so difficult, is that you choose it, will it choose you back?
Right.
And then if it chooses you back, it's not always going to necessarily choose you. It's not going to, it's really, Hollywood is really good at telling you where it needs you versus what you want to do. I would love to be an X-Man, but I am very moisturized hands and tiny wrists. I was like, okay, I think I'm supposed to be a White House florist.
I would say feminine, delicate wrists.
And that's fine. That's fine. But you just have to go with it at the same time, put all the energy into it. And there's just no promise that it's ever going to choose you back. So I think difficult in the sense that there's only so much you can do. I look at La La Land and I get frustrated when I see her do a one-person show, lights up to 6 people cut to Hollywood fame. I'm like, fuck no.
Yeah, right.
I was like, don't. Can that happen? Sure. But I don't, when I teach and I'll tell students, I was like, let's not bank on that. Let's play the long game and do the work and hope it chooses you back. So I think that's what makes it tough, is just, there's just no promise for anything. And
that is going to lead me, I'm going to hear Bob's answer first, but that's going to lead me a little bit down the line into pigeonholing, character assignment, that kind of stuff. But Bob, if you were giving the same answer, your same opinion on
both Cheryl and Reese, I think, hit on it great. But I also think there's something different about saying that I can act, which you probably can or maybe can't, and then being able to play the long game and actually sustain for 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
And that requires a whole bunch of different, not just whatever your skill set is, but your mental state of mind, what you're doing in your downtime, how you're maintaining some kind of real life outside of whatever validation you need from the industry that allows you then to start playing characters and auditioning successfully and not bringing all your paranoias and your drama into the room.
Yeah.
And I think that's a whole different skill set other than just being able to perform on set or on stage.
Yeah. I mean, that brings me to, we're going to talk a little bit also about the stats on the percentage of jobs versus auditions, but we'll get down to that a little bit later. I don't want to get too statty, but I'd rather have more of a conversation about it. But yeah, I mean, there are two schools of people. There are people that say, this is my dream. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do whatever it takes and I'll stick with it as long as possible. There are people, done, out. I'm not going to do it anymore. Right. So there are definitely those two schools of thought. There's a reality check that comes somewhere in the middle of that arc. Right. So there's people that are like, yes, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to do it forever. I'm sometimes like, okay, you really gave it a shot. You really put the work in and it's just not working for you. At some point, it's going to become soul crushing for you. Thoughts?
Yeah. I'll speak from my own experience. I needed to take a break.
Yeah.
I had to take a break because I know I'm in this for the long run. And oh my gosh, Reese and Bob, I love that you guys mentioned the long game, because if you're actually going to do this and if you're going to commit and if you see a vision of yourself working in this industry, then as someone very early on in my Hollywood journey said, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Mm-hmm.
And I rolled my eyes at him and I'm like, he doesn't know what's going to happen for me. 20 years later, I'm like, so this is the marathon. I'm in it. And it was right around 2018, 2019. I didn't know that I was dealing with anxiety and all of the politics of Hollywood. And I would show up to sets and it would be because of all the voices of producers and just people that I felt were more connected than me. Giving me advice that it's not what you know, it's who you know. You got to be friends with these people. It's on some of my jobs, not all of them, but on some of my jobs, it became, how can I angle how can I parlay this role into a longer gig by befriending so and so? And I can't even watch half of that work now.
Yeah.
Because I know my brain was so much more in the politics of let me make friends, which is the opposite of who I am as a person. I'm more like it's so much more natural for me in random conversations than me pursuing people to be like, I want something from you, so let's be friends. It's gross to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how much that was really tearing down my psyche and my confidence. And I had a conversation with my brother-in-law, and I just broke down. And he's like, I think you need a break. And in my mind, I was like, but you can't take a break. You have to keep going. The job could be tomorrow. I could hit the lottery next week if I just keep playing. And I'm so grateful for COVID and insanely grateful for COVID coupled with life, coupled with making the decision to be like, I am taking I'm like socials off. I'm going to write my own project and let my creativity go that way.
Good for you.
I started studying finance and got a hold on that, which was, I forgot, like I was a math major for a while. I forgot that. I literally forgot that side of my brain. I woke it up again. And then I had a daughter and I was like, oh, this is great. And all the while I had a through line of working in voiceover that I was connected and I was very grateful. I'm really connected to my faith. And I feel like right before the day I turned 40, I landed a recurring gig on a TV show.
Yeah.
And it was just a phone call that came in. And I'm connected where I'm like, that's God being like, listen, you are going to take a break. It's going to be quiet for a minute, but I got you.
All right.
You're going to be fine. And I've really been able to take that breath. And I feel like now my daughter's 2. I've been working this whole time, but it hasn't been that heavy where I have a completely different perspective on it. But absolutely, if you get to a point where you're like, I'm going to crash and burn, you got to take a break because it's so much you have to take care of you.
Did anyone else take? I was going to say the takeaway from that was that she loved COVID.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Who didn't? Get in line. We have jackets. We got jackets
I
for
just
that
want to
club.
make sure you can cut that down to I'm pro COVID.
Yeah.
And leave it at that.
Yeah.
Such a good point. There's actually, Jared, there's I think a distinction between being creatively fulfilled and being professionally fulfilled.
Sure.
You can maintain creative fulfillment as an artist by doing readings and doing your own stuff, whatever, and still never be making $1 and not being able to pay your rent.
Right.
And I think there's a marriage that has to happen where not only are you still maintaining some kind of artistic, getting some juice out of that, but at the same time paying your bills and supporting your family. And that's where it gets really, really tricky.
Well,
and I think as if I may add to that, I think it's like you start at the starting block. It's like, I'll show this town. I'm going to show up. And like you said, a long game. I don't think so. I'll just stand in line at Coffee Bean, get tapped on the shoulder and be in the next Twilight Saga. Don't worry.
Right.
Doesn't happen. But you start to see how the sausage is made a little bit. And like one thing I always say is like, please, we can't measure success by bookings alone. You just won't make it.
Amen.
Yeah.
You have to fill your cup other ways. And, that sort of lends to the long game, but you start to realize that also this is not necessarily, oh, okay, I see. It's not so much a meritocracy. I was like, I've worked on my craft for so long and I'm going to be the best actor in the room. And maybe that works, but that's not always how the jobs are won. And just going into this fray thinking that like, oh, if I can be the best actor, I'll just start working and it'll crescendo from there. I was like, no, it's just far too random. And it's not the best actor in the room gets the job every time. In fact,
No.
I don't.
I mean,
maybe
I would say it's maybe only 20% of the time the best actor.
That might be right.
Yeah.
And Reese hit on something very early on in his intro where he talked about finding out, I don't remember what your phrase was, but seeing how the industry perceives you and starting to accommodate their notes. I came out of a MFA program and I thought I was really hot shit and I could do any role. And you get to Hollywood and you're like, we don't give a fuck that you could potentially play Lear. That's not what we're interested in. We need you to play the sort of mildly deranged truck driver that has 2 lines. It's like and finding your niche and how they're going to accept you if you really want to make a career out of this and not just be doing plays in your backyard.
Well,
I do think that there's an element, though, with everything that you're saying, Bob, and I agree, because especially with voiceover, forget it. Like, they told me what they wanted me to be, and I'm like, all right. I assumed I was going to be one thing, and so did my agent, and then I started booking in a completely other world that I knew nothing about, and I was like, all right, this is where the meat and potatoes is for me. But when it comes to on camera, that's when I look to the Lena Dunhams, and I look to the creator of Yellowstone, and I say, you know what, the industry did tell them, we're not interested in what you can do. We're interested in what we want you to do. And that's where I really love that inspiration of, they're like, okay, then I'm going to create something on my own. So I do believe in creating work for yourself if you don't feel fulfilled in the work that Hollywood has chosen for you.
So a couple things came out of that for me. One, when you were talking before about, tuning out of social media, cutting off yourself. This is for Cheryl, obviously, cutting yourself off from everything for a while and taking a mental break. And that that feeling that, well, what happens if tomorrow you get the phone call, right? It is, to me, a little bit like, and this topic has come up in the last 3 podcasts I've done. It's a little like a gambling addiction, a little tiny bit, right? Where it's like, well, I didn't get the call today, but if I hang on for one more day, the call will come, right? And it's the same way that, like a slot machine works, right? It's like, well, maybe the next pull is going to be the one. Mm-hmm. So there's a little, and I've already done a whole episode about how social media is exactly like a gambling addiction. It's set up so that you scroll, and if you don't see something you like, you're going to keep scrolling forever and ever and ever until you see something you like. It's set up that way on purpose. It's a gambling addiction. So there's a little bit of an addiction there as an artist to say, tomorrow I'm going to get my chance to be an artist, right? That's how I always pose that. From Bob, what I took from that is, the whole, yes, be creative. I've never subscribed to the whole do what you love and the money will come. I've never subscribed to it. And that's because whoever said that line had a trust fund, because I've done what I've loved forever. I'm doing this and I'm not making a penny, right? So there's definitely that personal fulfillment versus that financial fulfillment. Only a precious few get both at the same time. And even if you would ask I had a conversation with, I'm just going to not name drop. I had a conversation with an actor who is relatively successful and has been in anything you could possibly imagine. And he was like, yeah, I still get there sometimes and I don't like the project. I don't like what I'm doing. I'm kind of doing it for a check. So even someone at his level was basically saying, I'm not getting artistic fulfillment out of it, but I bought a nice pool, out of that.
Yes.
So
yeah, but I wanted to throw in, because your gambling reference, I was like, yeah, it's like that. If I can put a little bit of a positive spin on it,
try. Go ahead.
It goes back to if I'm going to stick with this thing long term, and because I believe in myself and I've gotten enough validation, received enough validation by way of work that suggests, yeah, you just keep going. And so my spin on the gambling thing was like, tomorrow is like, well, the way I put that or articulate that is I think we're 48 hours away from something life-changing.
Okay.
Right.
I like that. I like that point of view.
Because I could go, we've probably all been through stretches where even if you had enough success to, be a homeowner or call this a living and get your pension, you're still going to hit a stretch of time that makes you look in the mirror and go, that's it. Everybody hates you and they are tired of you.
Mm-hmm.
And so now what are you going to do? Because you are a piece of shit and clearly everybody hates you. Oh my God, wait, I just got a notification. 48 hours later, you get a job that's really special or feels really good. And all of a sudden you're out, you're floating.
Well, that's pretty much any job hunter though. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, right? I mean, so that applies to everybody. If you're been job hunting and putting in 600 resumes and finally you're like, tomorrow's going to be the day that I get that gig and finally can pay all my bills. I mean, everybody has that same
I guess
feeling.
when you're calling yourself a working actor, you're a working actor without working.
Yeah.
Until something comes along. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to put a light on it.
Mm-hmm.
On this gambling metaphor, this is really fascinating because occasionally I've gone to a couple training programs to talk to them just about making the transition from stage actor to coming to the Hollywood, to the film and TV world, et cetera. And I made this gambling, reference metaphor about how because I play blackjack occasionally if I got not very small potatoes, but
Mhm.
like there are rules when you play blackjack, and you go, okay, if I'm going to consistently win, if dealer's showing a 6 and I've got a 13, I'm going to stick because he's going to have to hit. So you follow the rules, and the idea is that if you like do everything right, eventually long term it's going to pay off. Unfortunately, you can do that and still consistently lose, and then watch some jackass in a Hawaiian shirt and a pina colada come in out of the doors and hit like an 18.
Yeah.
And win, and you're like, I did everything I was supposed to do, and I still lost. And the guy who violated all the rules ends up winning, and it's very frustrating. And I think that's the case with almost all creative professions,
Sure.
where you literally can do everything right and still have zero return on that investment.
Yeah. That's nuts.
Yeah, if I could add on that, Bob, because that's a wonderful analogy. Only because when I teach, I'll tell my students, I'm like, yeah, I mean, you could do everything. You can do everything right, and they'll come to me sometimes and say, "I don't understand. I was told I did a great job. I fit the description, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't even get a call back." And I was like, "You can do a great job and still lose. I mean, it doesn't translate, and there's no promise of anything." And I was like, "The person that could fart and fall down at the right time will get the job over you. That's just how the ball bounces." But I love, anyway, sorry, I love your blackjack analogy because I'm bad at blackjack.
It's ironic that you guys are saying that, because that was literally the mentality that right when I decided, I'm like, I think I need to take a break, and it was really hard for me. My husband literally said, he's like, yeah, when you're in this game long enough and this industry long enough, you realize sometimes hard work does not necessarily equate success.
No.
And I do believe that there is a mentality out there that it's like, if you just work hard, fill in the blank, and it's making peace with that reality. It was really hard to swallow.
Well,
but
here's what I like about this podcast. Sorry. And that is that I hope a lot of people that are looking to get into this watch something like this, yours, especially JR, but
Yeah, thank you.
So where they can calibrate expectations early, because one thing that will happen or does happen, and again, it's just people coming back say, I'm mad. I don't understand it. I did everything right. I put so much time. And that anger is coming from a place of like, it doesn't make sense. I did all the work. Why am I not booking? I'm like, if you don't understand the math of it early on, then you'll come into this, as you progress through this journey, anger will start to come.
So let me
into
ask you
play,
though,
and entitlement.
So to that though, how do you learn the math of it? Right. So you're saying that as
Watch your podcast.
kind of like it's like an easy thing. Like, how do you learn the math of that? Like, even if you're going to class and your classes and you're getting with an instructor and whatever else, that's something that has to come with experience, wouldn't you say?
So so maybe we walked through the fire long enough to put the pieces together and understand, and also we sustained enough of a living through this thing to where we could endure. But through our journey, we've just been hit left and right with so many of these variables that we've learned along the way, but we stuck with it. Whereas I think, look, you'll hit that fork in the road and you're either going to go, fuck it, I'll keep my head down because what else am I going to do? And I love it. Or like, I haven't booked anything. Fuck this industry. Screw Hollywood. I'm out, you know? And so I think all of us chose to keep going. And with that comes that experience. I don't know how you learn that at 19 or coming out of conservatory unless you watch your podcast or seek that sort of wisdom. Trial by fire, and hopefully you stick with it long enough. But I don't know. There's a lot of peace in that, I think, as you progress.
There's a tremendous amount of lack of self-awareness, though, among all our, all our brethren. And Reese, you run sessions, and I'm sure you see this constantly. I can affirm that people often have no idea what they're bringing into the room. They think that little joke during their slate is gonna kill. Or they don't realize how bitter or angry or desperate they seem when they walk in, and they can't figure out why they're not booking. And I'm sure you see it all the time. You're like, you don't know what you're giving off.
Yeah. And that's where I usually hear I don't understand. Why didn't I? I can look them in the face and say, you did a great job, but why didn't I? You did a great job. Yeah. Because you were, and one thing I talk about, I call it's very stupid, but I call it my little dumb cilantro theory. And I'm like, if you can wrap your head around this, then I think it will help your journey. And what that is you guys like cilantro?
Sure.
Yeah. Does anyone eat cilantro? And you know how that thing, some people taste cilantro and they taste soap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That's a very involuntary reaction. It's like this chemical reaction some people have. They have this extra thing, and when they eat cilantro, it tastes like soap. I think cilantro is the most delicious herb on the planet. So whatever.
The most delicious?
It is. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Well, that's another podcast.
All right.
But I think it's like this, what we like and what we don't like is the most involuntary response in the world.
Sure.
Right? How easy would life be if we were like, I choose to like all foods and all people?
Well,
But we just have it's an involuntary thing. So art is the most subjective thing in the world. So if you come into the room and audition, 9 out of 10 directors might think you are the most delicious herb in the world, and that 10th one might. It doesn't matter what you do; is going to look at you and go, "You're soap."
well, I'm with you
And
there.
you can't do anything about
I'm
that.
with you there, but also remember, that, having gone through 100 casting sessions where, I'm sitting back there, I might say, man, I've done it a million times. Man, you know who I want for this? I want Reese. I want, people that I know that are talented.
You've done that a million times.
1 million. Well, 900,000.
I have that one phone call, but a million
Right.
times you've wanted
But
a Reese.
you're getting my
Interesting.
point perfectly, because now I have a producer. I have normally a client. If you're doing commercials, you have a client, and they all have their own individual ideas of what this person looks like, whether they're pretending to put all their trust in you or not. They come in with a preconception of what they want.
That's right.
And so I can see Bob or I can see Cheryl audition and go, man, she fucking nailed it. Like, she's in. And they go, I was thinking
Yeah.
a little taller and brunette. Like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah,
what you
yeah.
never said that before. Like when we were throwing out the casting, you didn't
Yeah.
mention that, but everybody's got those things. Those things all have to add up. So, it'd be really easy for an actor to get, like you're saying, Reese, frustrated and saying, like, I gave it my all and I didn't get it. Well, it doesn't mean you didn't do well. It just means
Yeah.
that the people in the room collectively,
You're not what they.
it wasn't their flavor today. Like, they weren't into,
Yeah.
they wanted something salty and you came in sweet. Like, that's,
I had a manager tell me something that this was like 15 years ago. And it's these little things that you said, how do you survive? You collect this along the way and it helps. And she told me one time, she was like, Reese, casting things, one of two things when you walk in the room. As soon as you walk in the room, before you open your dumb little mouth, she said, they either think, please be good or next.
yeah, that's true.
That's it. And if you're a next, good luck. It doesn't matter how well things go in there. You'll walk out of there feeling like $1 million, and then you'll wonder, what did I do wrong? You go through that whole.
And to add on top
thing.
of that, if you want someone to be good, you'll work with them in the casting.
That's
So,
right.
if I find somebody that I come in and they go, oh, they didn't really nail it, but stick around, let's do a little ad lib. And I've hired many people for projects that I'm like, when they came in, it was dead. And then by the time I said, they didn't even know that, oh, you're looking for someone with some improv experience? That's me, like, sort of thing. And then we improv something and I'm like, see, that's why, this is a little bit of a segue. I don't want to cut anybody off if you have thoughts on it, but this is a segue. So if anybody else has thoughts on what we're talking about, do that now, and then we'll sort of move on.
Can I chime in? Just because we're doing recipes and we're doing some making dishes, there's an analogy that I also had about that was giving like a workshop, and I said, like, know who you are and how you and what your role is in the particular recipe. Like, I always liken myself to cumin, or some weird little spice.
That's a good one.
That
Smoke.
that it's an interesting addition to the dish, and it really can make the dish a lot better. But nobody wants nothing but cumin, right? Like, and I'm not putting myself down. It's like, I know what my role is in the industry.
Right.
Like, I am an ancillary player that can really add something to a scene, but I am very uncomfortable and I'm not carrying the scene.
Bob, there are
Can I
hundreds.
just take a minute?
Go.
Bob, are you kidding me?
No, I knew that, and I knew you were going to
You
jump on
just
this,
spun
but
the
I
bullshit.
stand by it. Wait, say again?
I could not disagree more. And I feel like this is a perfect example of, you don't know what you're bringing to the room, because you simply, as you are right now, I'm like, what other opinions do you have, Bob? I could just sit here and watch your show 45, 50 minutes, just nonstop. Give me 10 episodes. Are you kidding me? You don't think that you are the driving force? There's no one else that's going to be
You
Bob.
do scene steal, Bob. I'm going to jump
Are
on
we
this.
joking?
I've used a lot of cumin in my burgers. And
See, then we have a
cumin
room full of people that love cumin, and I couldn't be
Yeah.
happier.
Yeah.
But I think
it's
that
cumin forward.
I think people have have their particular role in a project and need to embrace. I was going to make a sports analogy. Like you've got people who are fantastic, versatile fielders, and maybe have a 300 batting average, but they're not going to be, they're not the memorable names or the ones that we remember, but they keep the team together.
Okay.
Cheryl's still mad at me.
Yeah.
I am. My dog stepped into my office.
He was
and
ready to
even
bite.
He wanted a piece of this. Bob, you're out of your mind.
Yeah. I mean, listen,
out of your
Cougar
mind.
Town, automatically my head would,
gotta calm
would
down.
whip.
But in Cougar Town, I came in every time with 2-3 lines at the end
Doesn't matter.
slayed and then left.
Doesn't matter.
But
It's still, you
hold on,
killed
but
it. You
here's
crushed
the
it.
thing. But here's the thing, Bob. In Cougar Town, maybe you work human. Sure, okay. But in life, you are the sauce. Like you're it. And
All right.
that is it. And oh my gosh,
This just became the best podcast ever.
I could just see here and just
In
be
life,
like,
he's
no,
more of
we
a
gotta
smoked
shake you
paprika,
up.
I think. I think he's more of a smoked paprika in real life, but the cumin in the acting life is good.
I do think what Bob said. I mean, Bob, what you're essentially saying is, you know what you sell, you know what people are buying,
Sure.
That's beautiful.
and I think that's super important. That doesn't mean you can't also sell something, right? But like,
Sure.
but again, going when I said Hollywood's really good at telling you, I was like, yeah, I know you think you're going to be the guy that steals the girls, but you're the guy sitting in the cuck chair.
Yeah.
So, and if you're
Filming
willing
it.
to
Filming the
accept
girls,
that,
yeah.
then we're going to continue. We're going to continue to put you in that chair, and you're going to get paid doing that role.
Yeah.
But I think
And I'm like,
it's
all right.
then taking things into your own hands, though. That's where it's like if you see the show Love on Netflix, the writer, creator, or co-creator of that is the lead of the show, and he's incredibly charming, and he is the romantic interest. And then, of course, I mentioned her before, but Lena Dunham, you know what I mean? Like there are so many things. I'm like, I have a list in front of me. I could just go right on down the list of all of the people that created things. Bob, no, no,
Okay.
honey. I'm like,
All right.
maybe in certain projects you are the cumin, but I'm telling you, you could make
All right.
you could be Bryan Cranston.
So-
and
Cheryl's
is it
shaking up my
cumin or
comfort zone. I'm
cumin?
gonna.
I think it's cumin.
force you into it. Are you kidding? Let everyone else think that. Don't you say that about yourself, though. I'm sorry.
Damn you,
Cheryl
Bob.
does, Cheryl.
God
about
damn you,
that?
Bob. The
Look, you're creating friendships forever, JR.
so listen, there's the one thing that I would pull out of that, Bob, honestly, is there are a lot of super successful people out there, particularly those in like the 70s, 80s, right? That made exceptional careers playing exactly the same character across the board and have
100%.
have huge beach houses to prove it, right? So my thing is like if you are comfortable with yourself to say, you know what, this is my lane. This is where I'm going to be, and I'm going to be the best. My grandfather used to tell me ages ago, if you're going to be a ditch digger, be the best ditch digger on the planet.
Yeah.
Right? Take it seriously. Even if it's not where you wanted to be, you better be the best one you can possibly be. So my opinion is always, if you know that's your lane and everyone around you is kind of telling you that's their lane and everyone is giving you massive thumbs up for driving in that lane, do the damn best you can in that lane and, take that as far as you possibly can. That's my personal, I know it might not be creatively
I think
fulfilling.
you're right, but Cheryl's also got a great point. Is that occasionally you can veer into a couple other lanes and
Sure.
see how it goes.
Sure. I mean, that'll
And
get,
occasionally you'll be surprised. You'll
And you'll
receive an
surprise yourself.
opportunity that you'll look at and you'll have a visceral reaction of like, no, but fine.
There's
and
no-
more often than not, you are correct. But every so often you get the job and you're like, really?
that's
Okay.
going to,
What can happen?
before we swing off into a different topic, I've always detested this when people say, I've been really lucky or I've been really fortunate. I detest that
Why?
sentiment because I think luck is preparation plus opportunity. That's what luck
Sure.
is. Okay. So meaning that I think your luck comes from busting ass and pounding pavement and not ripping ass like you do, Reese. I'm saying like really pounding pavement and getting out there and doing the work and going to 500 auditions. And what is that? Oh, light when Reese
What?
farts. That's nice. I like that. We're going to
Who
hold
gave
that.
that to you, Reese?
Someone who knows me very well.
I'm guessing his wife.
I was gonna say
Keeps it next to the bed.
He's keeping it.
We all have our kinks.
But I mean, how do you guys feel about that? I do not like, the same way I don't like do what you love and the money will come. I do not like this idea of I've been really lucky or I've been really fortunate.
But I can't help but say that because I know I've been surrounded by people that work just as hard and are very talented and have not had the same good fortune. I don't know any other way to articulate that, only because I'm surrounded by brilliant people and I don't understand why they're not working. I don't understand why they don't work more than I do.
Yeah.
I think I'm a, so that, I don't know how any other way to put it, because then, well, shouldn't they also? We all put in the effort. We all put in the work. We have all prepared ourselves as much as possible to be ready in those when the opportunity presents itself. But I think there's just so many other variables out of our control that the only thing that bridges that gap is a little bit of luck. So I'm sorry, JR. I don't know any other way to say it.
You don't have to apologize to me. I'm just saying.
But I did.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And now
that.
I'm farting.
Could you light that candle, please?
Nope.
I mean, do you guys both all feel the same way? I mean, this is just my opinion, my stupid, dumb, idiot opinion. I just think that it's like, it's again, luck is preparation plus opportunity.
But you know, if we come back to that, like I made that, we were talking about that gambling analogy with the blackjack guy and the guy in the Hawaiian shirt and stuff. He was lucky.
Yeah.
He was really, really lucky. And I think that does happen in our industry. Now, I think that those people who have maintained careers for 10, 20, 30 years, that goes way beyond luck.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, because
yes, I agree with that.
That is something that you cannot, that luck is not going to sustain again with the long haul. But you know, initial success or having that one, you did a TikTok that blew up, like there is something that where fortune does enter the equation, because like Reese says, there is such volume out there that what separates the one thing that comes out of the herd has got to be something other than just preparation and skill level.
I like it. Okay.
And sometimes luck presents itself in so many different ways. Sometimes you're lucky because all things are even. There's 5 guys that did a great job, but one of them looks like the kid that's already cast. So that's a great cast for them. And that's happened to me multiple times. And that happened to me like on The Walking Dead. And I'm like, I know I did a good job, but I also know who else read for it. And they did a fantastic job. But I saw the kid and I was like, that's a great, that's a great match. I get the DNA. That was DNA casting. And that's luck, man.
Okay. I like it.
To your point though, JR, I will say the more effort you put in and the more times you go, the luckier you get.
Sure.
So there's an element
You're
of
raising
that
your
luck.
odds, of course.
I do believe that there is an element of luck.
And longevity is not luck. Longevity is, I agree with what Bob said. I mean, you have to there are people that come to Hollywood, get off that bus and book a job in the first week and they're like, ooh, yeah. And then they don't book for the rest of their
and
day.
then you don't see them for 20 years and you're like, whatever happened to that guy? It's like the sustainability.
Well, that brings me to a really good point. Okay. A really good part of this is, has there ever been a part in your careers where you went, okay, I made it. I'm good. I got a show. I'm fine. And I'm going to bring up a mutual friend that at least a couple of us know, not mentioned by name, who got a hit show, was doing the show, and then suddenly he wasn't doing the show, and suddenly he wasn't being cast in anything. And he was a guy who was definitely on the meteoric rise and basically ended up like, no, it's not really doing it. I'm not saying that he's unhappy with what he's doing now. I'm just saying that, without calling out names, there was a vibe where we were friends, we talked a lot, we went out to have lunch and whatever, and then suddenly we didn't. And it wasn't because he was too busy, it was because he was too important, right, to do that stuff.
But you know what? But JR, that's such an important distinction, I think. In again, for the people who are playing the long game, I don't think he had the personality required to sustain over decades, because he was so susceptible to this kind of vanity or this kind of self-importance.
Yes.
Right? I mean, I think that you have to check your ego early on and be willing to roll with these depressions in order to know that you're going to be back for the next 2 or 5 years. And he wasn't.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that he won't
if you're looking at putting these machines together that are going to be able to do it for decades, he was missing a couple key components.
And I'm not saying he won't be, Bob. I'm not saying that tomorrow he won't be on another series or a movie or whatever else. But I'm just saying that it was.
You saw the shift that success doesn't change you. Success amplifies.
Right.
Who you are.
And I guess
Yep.
I'm saying that, yeah, it does. It amplifies something that was always there. But I'm just, and look, to be an actor, in a lot of ways, you sort of have to have that underneath, right? You have to want to be a performer, and you want to be, bigger than life. And that's part of being an actor, in my opinion. But I guess that's bringing back to the question now, is there ever a point, and this is in all seriousness, where you're like, okay, everything's cool. Like, I'm going to be good now because I'm on a series or I'm on a movie or whatever.
Well, I'm at points where I'm super comfortable because things are going well, and I feel like I'm bringing a confidence into auditions. I'm booking regularly, and things are happening, and you feel very good about yourself. But there's never been the case like, oh, this is the way it's going to be forever.
Yeah, I know. I hate stretches where I feel. I was like, oh, when I walk, I'm walking out of every room feeling just great, and I'm like, I know it's not going to yield a job, but I'm like, when I have that, I'm like, well, I'm about to have a nice little role. But I also know I was like, I walk out of there going, right in front of me somewhere is going to be the valley. And I was like, even in the middle of like feeling really good, I know it's finite. I know it's temporary. And I know I'm going to endure a desert as well. And then the pendulum swings back.
JR, not to commandeer the podcast and ask a question, but I'd love to know what both Reese and Cheryl think about the role of ego and how, well, just in general, or to talk about ego as an actor. And
I want to jump on that. Can I just say one little caveat regarding what JR did mention? I saw Sally Field speak, and she said, I've won an Oscar. I think she's won 2. How many has that? I don't know. But she's like, in all of my success, this was when she was doing Lincoln. She goes, I still feel like I haven't made it. And it was a very real telling moment where I'm like, okay, if Sally Field feels like she hasn't made it, who am I to ever?
She ain't got nothing to prove. Yeah.
I think that there's just an element, but it is, But I'm like, may I jump on the lane of ego and jump into that, JR?
Please.
No, wrong.
I've already been pirated, so go right ahead.
I love it. We're taking that ship.
Co-opted my show.
Bob, get in there. See? Bob, captain of the ship.
That's what you get for saying I'm more than human.
Yeah.
I'm taking over.
Man, you're the steak. What? So I feel like I've had my ego checked, not necessarily from people in the industry and people that I've worked with, but I'm very connected to my faith. I feel like it's God been like, you're not ready yet. This version of you, like, I look back to when I was 17, I'm like, I'm ready. And people around me were like, yeah, you are ready. Oh my God. If that girl got what I am envisioning for myself, I don't want to say I would have been a nightmare. I would have been horribly immature, and I don't want to say ungrateful. I would have been a cunt. Like, because I was how dare you? But because I feel like, especially being that young and impressionable, I was being flooded with the media being like, well, this celebrity asks for green M&Ms when she's on a show. That's what tells that you're actually successful. And at 17, 18, 19, I would have been like, so then I need the red M&Ms. And that's like, I was just so, and then at certain moments in my career, I'm like, I think this is the time. I think that this is the time. And every time that I look back at that version of myself, yes, I do think I was ready. Yes, I think I could have handled a lot, but I also feel like the version of me that would have showed up is not, even today, it's not the version that I am today, that I feel like, okay, now if I'm given that platform, okay, now I feel like I can hold it, I can sustain it, because the element of fame it's very real. And there is a lot, there's a lot to hold when you have eyes on you, because it's not just eyes, you've got ears, you have impressionable people. And I'm not saying you have to be a role model, but you got to check, it's almost like you need to check your ego at the door when arguably you have the biggest reason to have an ego. It's interesting. So that's been my journey with it.
Okay. Reese?
In regards to my ego?
Or just ego in general, I think is what he's asking.
In general, I have my relationship with my ego goes something like this. I like what I do. I love what I do. I love who I am, and I love what I love my place in this and everything in this business. I just don't know if anyone else gives a shit.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't, and that's it. You were kind of talking about Sally Field, and my go-to is I was like, I think it was Gene Hackman that said every time I walked off a set, I was pretty sure it was my last job.
Mhm.
There's comfort in that, and no, I'm not likening myself to Gene Hackman, but I definitely, my struggle is that like, I don't look in the mirror and question my ability. I question whether or not anyone else gives a shit.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Enough to offer me work, or opportunities.
There's
I
not a
don't
part
know
of you, Reese, that ever is like, what the heck? I'm amazing. What?
But so that's the relationship, right? It's that I was like, I think I am amazing. I really fucking believe that. I think I'm really great. I just don't know if but is anyone buying what I'm selling? Do they care? Do they care what I have to say? It's kind of like, I don't do super much on social media. And a lot of that comes from that ego where I'm about to post something and then I quickly say to myself, who asked? Fuck off.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go and
yeah.
Do you know what's so funny, Reese? Your authenticity would cut through all of the noise on social media. Simply the way that you could take that soundbite and you could grab this clip if you're recording on your end and post exactly what you just said, and people would be like, "Man, I feel like this guy. Man, I know exactly who this guy is. I'm him." And I don't think you realize what you're actually
Do
putting
those
out.
senses ever get
I
dulled?
never do.
Does that feeling ever get dulled? Like where you basically are road worn and you say you don't really care that much anymore? I mean, I guess I don't want to say care that much anymore. Like you don't care about your craft. I'm saying, does that delicate part of your ego ever build a callus, or is it just forever the same thing?
I think it's forever the same thing. I don't think I'll ever shake that. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's a level of acceptance that helps me cope and just stay on the path. Because I do know that at some point, I think I'm buying time to the next stretch of time when I feel really good about things.
Okay.
Things
I
will
like
be
that
hitting.
take on it. Yeah.
Knowing that just beyond that is going to be another shit time. And just, I don't know. I try to sort of swim in realistic waters as much as I can because I think that helps. Even in the hard times, it's like, okay, we've been through this 100 times before. And on the other side of that are 100 good times,
Well, going back to my friend, so go ahead. You have something else you wanted to say? I'm sorry.
No, that was me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bob. Go ahead.
So I was just going to say that I don't know if this is targeting what you were asking, but I know that over time I've become a lot less concerned with what people think of me in terms of or pleasing them. Like I think initially I was so worried about getting affirmations that I did whatever they wanted and whenever they wanted and whatever. And now I'm like, you know what? If it's a project that doesn't interest me, I don't have to do it. I'm not going to do it. Or if I get a piece of direction that I think is wrong, I'm going to push back and say, no, I don't actually, I'm going to do it this way. But I think that comes with getting older and crustier and whatever, but like also getting more confident with my opinion does matter. And I think that when you're initially starting out, especially in this industry where you're beaten down so often, you can start to think that your moderator is not worth listening to. And that's incorrect.
Guys, we're running a little short on time. I really hope that you can stick around. We can do a part 2 of this because I'm very fascinated with what's going on if you've got the time to do it. I know Reese does, but Bob and Cheryl, do you guys have the time?
Absolutely.
I have things to do.
Yeah, Reese is pretty busy, but I would love to be there because I got nothing going.
Okay, got it.
I actually don't have anything going.
So for now, I'll give you the quick outros for everybody. For Cheryl, you can follow this magnificently talented woman at CherylTexiera.com. That's spelled Texiera, but pronounced Texiera. Bob, if you haven't seen Bob before, you clearly don't own a television, but you can check out his reels and commercials on RobertClendenin.com.
Love you.
And speaking of magnificently talented women, Reese Rios will appear on the new FX show, The Drop. I don't have a date on that yet. Thank you guys so much. We'll catch you in part 2.
Thank you, JR.
See ya. That That does it for this time. Appreciate you listening. Please come back for part 2 as we continue this discussion with these 3 awesome people. I really appreciate your time, guys, and your insight. Like the show? Want to hear more cool guests? Clicking the follow button will make sure of it. So go ahead and do it. And drop us a review if you're so inclined. It helps us out a lot. You can also drop us a line anytime at our email, hello@roughtumblemedia.com. That's hello@rufftumblemedia.com. Join me again for another episode of Assume I'm an Idiot. I'm your pal JR. Catch you again soon.